Okay, hi everybody, it's Patricia Warby Alchemy Therapies here, and I'm doing a very quick summary this morning of what I've been up to the last couple of weeks. There have been some other things going on. I've had building works. I've also had my elderly mother needing care, and I've been rushing around trying to organise that. That's sort of personal stuff that's been going on. That's why you haven't heard from me for a while. But in between all that, with all the train journeys I've been doing, going to see my mum, I've managed to finish finally this book, Dirty Genes, which you can see it's got lots of tags in because it's really one of the best books I've read in the health arena for a while. And I do get through an awful lot in a year. I probably read upwards of 30 books on that sort of area of self-help and health. But this one, Dr. Ben Lynch, you might have come across before. He's got loads of YouTube videos as well. So, and I'll probably post a couple of links beneath mine because he says it more eloquently than I can. But I just wanted to give my impression of this book and why I think it's one of the most revolutionary approaches to health and healing that we've yet found. Now, there are loads of books that could claim that title, particularly, diets, the area of improving your health through a particular diet, whether it's eating cabbage or eschewing carbohydrates for proteins, or fasting regimes, various fasting regimes, all of which have something to contribute. I think what's different about this one, Dirty Genes, is the idea that genes are not a fixed entity. They're not something you're born with just the way they are, and then they determine how your health runs. They are interacting with your environment, and this is the whole concept of epigenetics, which we haven't really understood properly until about the last 10-15 years. And Dirty Genes is a great title because what it says is you can either have your genes born dirty, in other words, you have what's called a slight mutation or SNP in the gene variant, so that it doesn't work as efficiently, or it works in a different way, because obviously genes code for proteins. It's the protein that the functionality will change depending on what variant you're born with. So that's having a gene that is born dirty, if you like, so it doesn't work in the way it should do. And that's clearly the case for me. I've had my genes sequenced. The cost is plummeting. Even when I had it done 2-3 years ago, it was over £100. It's now about 60 or 70. It will probably go down to much, much less. So it's within the reach of everyone to find out what their genes are and what it tells them. But I would counsel you not to just go ahead and do it without support, because you may get frightened by what you find. For instance, I have a slightly higher than average risk for certain types of cancer and also Alzheimer's. Because of the way I deal with sugars. So you kind of need support through that. Whether you decide to get your genes read or not, it doesn't matter, because in this book, actually the other concept is that life and how you live it will also dirty your genes. So whether you're not born with the variant that's not working properly, life itself can intervene and cause your genes to not function well. And that seems to have been the case for me. So if I look back to my own history, I would say, a childhood history of stomach complaints. Often the doctor would be called, nothing would be found, but they called it a suspected grumbling appendix. Well, no, it turns out that probably more likely some of my genes, particularly my methylation genes, methylation is what turns things on and off. It's a sort of control sequence, weren't working properly, and my diet wasn't helping. I was very heavily addicted to sugary drinks and sweets and things like that. So I did eat reasonable meals when I was at school, but at home I would snack a lot and drink loads of sweet sugary drinks. So I had lots of little grumbling ailments when I was young. I also had frequent nosebleeds. Now, this is something nobody's ever been able to explain to me, and this is the first book that has taught me why I had frequent nosebleeds, particularly as I hit puberty around the onset of my period. So once I hit puberty, I hit puberty really young. I was 11. I would often get a nosebleed before I actually came on my period. So, and nobody was ever able to explain that. We went to the doctor. The doctor basically said, oh, it's just one of those things, which they often say when they don't know, and actually sent me off to have my nose cauterized. I had my nose vessels, the blood vessels in the inside of my nose, cauterized 3 times, once electrically and 2 chemically, which I don't need to tell you is extremely painful and made not one jot of difference. I've never been able to find out why I had nosebleeds and other people didn't. Well, it turns out it's to do with a gene called the DAO gene, which breaks down histamine. And I don't break down histamine very well. So here's what happens. If I drink wine, I flush straight away, or any form of alcohol. That's a histamine reaction. Okay. If I scratch myself, the little wheel that forms stays for ages. Histamine reaction. I'm very sensitive to certain foods, particularly tomatoes. Quite bad for me. Some aged cheeses and things like that, high histamine. Cocoa, chocolate, high histamine. But ironically, I'm also quite addicted to some of those foods, because you can actually end up being addicted to the very thing that causes the problem. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is to clean your genes. And I think the genius in this book is the idea that you can kind of treat it like dirty laundry, and you can actually start to both soak and scrub and spot clean, which is how he terms it. Now, first of all, you've got to know which genes are dirty. And so he takes you through a series of questionnaires, quizzes, which you can follow, and you can track your symptoms, and it will indicate which genes targeted will need to be cleaned. So I've done that. The DAO definitely flagged up for me. It wasn't the worst one. COMT was another big one for me, and that deals, I believe, with catechol, so neurotransmitters, so things like estrogen in the system, which I know I have high estrogen because I've had fibroids. So there you go. It all starts to piece together. That's why I think this book is so seriously good. And then it gives you recipes and suggestions for supplementation. So it's food first, then supplementation, right order. How to clean laundry, the laundry of your genes, if you like. So I'm kind of following that right now, and I'm supplementing with glutathione. I've also added in certain digestive enzymes, which clearly I'm not digesting fats well, and that's why often my liver is, I've noticed I get a rash in the morning if I have a shower under my liver. Cardinal sign that my liver is fatty, and basically not, the toxins are not being cleared properly. So I would really, really recommend you look at this book and follow the instructions. Take the quiz. It's also available online. You can do the quiz online, and get some of the ideas and find out what's not working for you and why. This is serious information because it's personalized to you, and that's the difference. So this isn't saying this diet or this strategy will work for you because it worked for the author, which is the basis of most books, let's be honest. Most books tell you what to do based on the experience of the author that's written it. This one doesn't. It says you may be different. He gives examples of some of the clients that he's worked with who are different to him and how he's adjusted this technique to them as well. So I look forward to cleaning up my genes. I must say I don't get nosebleeds very often now. In fact, the last one, I can't remember. It was probably over two years ago, but I remember it was when I was leaning over and suddenly had a nosebleed. Having eaten chicken and mustard, I'd had mustard, and apparently the sulfur in mustard, sulfur can also stimulate that problem. The genes talk to each other. So I don't want you to get the wrong impression and think it's one gene is the problem, in my case, DAO, because there's also MTFHR, which will be a problem. That's the methylation gene. There are others like NOS3, COMT, as I've mentioned, and MAOA. Is that right? I think it is. So the genes will talk to each other, and where one isn't working, another one will have to ramp up and try to compensate. And so it's not a case that you just fix one gene. It's like having to look at the whole picture, but it's personalized to you. And if you're anything like me, to have things explained to you why your body does the things it does without causing you to feel that you're wrong or sickly, or, you know, I always grew up thinking my system just wasn't able to handle life really very well, and I was oversensitive and making things up. Well, no, my genes are just responding to the environment, and unless I support my genes properly, I'm going to get symptoms. That is the nature of this understanding. So epigenetics, epi meaning above, genetics, above genetics, means the interaction of genes with your environment. And this is a crucial new understanding, that there is crosstalk between how you live your life, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the exercise you take or don't take, the friendships you have, the relationships you're involved in, the stresses you're under, all adjust and ramp up or tone down your genetic expression. It actually changes your physical health. So here's proof really of this mind-body interaction that we've always known, that, you know, mind and body are not separate, but here is both a scientific explanation but also a practical solution for you and me to actually get healthy. I'm working on it. I hope you do too. I haven't got shares in his company or anything. He's just a great bloke, and well done, Ben, and thank you for writing that. I know that you didn't write this alone, even though it just says Dr. Ben Lynch. If you look in the acknowledgements, 2 women contributed hugely to this book, and his wife did the recipes. If there's one criticism I have, I'd have liked to have seen that on the cover. I don't know if that was a publishing decision, but often we say behind every great man is a great woman. In this case, there were 3 of them. So yeah, there you go. So I'll publish the links as well to a couple of his videos which explain a bit more about nosebleeds and the link. And thank you for listening. Bye for now.